welcome to another episode of Influence and Growth Mastery, where we help you increase your visibility, your influence, your connections, and your income. Today, we have another wonderful guest on the show. His name is Orrin Benford, and Orrin, is so exciting to have you on the show today. Before we get into your story, I just want to say welcome.
Hey, Tonya, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Well, it is, again, wonderful to have you here. So before you get into your story, I want you to share a little bit about the pivotal moment that led you into co-founding LVL Wellbeing and how your journey into finance and project management at BAE Systems influenced that decision.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of level technology, it's almost a bit of a love story. So I met a girl in London back in 2017, an Australian girl, and she was incredible. And we fell in love and did all of the great things. But it turned out she was coming to the end of her 2-year visa in London, and I was too old to get a visa into Australia. And then out of absolute nowhere, an old friend from back home in England called me up and he said he's starting a company up in Dubai, and it was a tech company and it sounded exciting. He said he needed me to come and take a look at the numbers. He had paid a lot of money for a financial model to be built and he just wasn't quite sure about it. And I just finished franchising off a company I'd set up in the UK and selling off part of it. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's just go to Dubai for a week. Who's going to say no to a free holiday and check out some spreadsheets and see what happens? So we went over for a week and I looked at the numbers and did some work for them, and it was pretty cool. And he said, how about you come out next month, but do the exact same, but with the entire operations of the company? So we did that and that went well. And then he said, right, come out for one more month. This was going to be it, I promise. So I went out for one more month and we jumped on a plane. We got to Dubai and they said, right, we're going to go to Hong Kong. We went to Hong Kong and we had our first ever like B2B corporate meeting with Cigna, a large healthcare insurer out in Hong Kong. And it went very well. And that was the first part of the actual business model pivot from B2C to B2B. And he said, yeah, you need to find a way to stay. So I said, okay, well, I can't go to Australia. I'm not going to go back to England. Yeah, all right, I'll come out to Dubai. But I said, I'm a bit of a digital nomad. I'll come out part-time for 9 months. That's all I'll give you. And then as it happens, another month, 2 months later in, you're thick in it, you're excited. It's the startup culture. You're making things happen. And yeah, we just really got stuck in. And I joined the company with pre-revenue, like real MVP, version 1 of the app. A B2C model, and we built it all out from there, building up the finance function and the people function. And yeah, the last 5 years has been a bit of a whirlwind since then at Level.
Wow. So the story was over then after that. You were there to stay.
I was there to stay. So the first year was incredible. It was fast moving. It was when you're in the startup tech world, it's a very strange place because in the first few years, there's not that huge pressure on profit. It's a very strange world to be in. It's like, yeah, we're burning cash each month. We want control and we want the route to profitability, but that wasn't there. So it was a really weird dynamic that I hadn't experienced too much of before. And yeah, it really got me going. It got me excited to get to see the full breadth of the business, to work in technology in the Middle East, but with a global footprint, was great. And then COVID happened and it all changed. And that's where it got even more interesting. So yeah, at that point I was done.
Wow. So you were in the right place at the right time. You were the right person. What an incredible story. And I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Dubai and that many times? I mean, wow.
It's an incredible place. And so through my corporate days, you mentioned my kind of my first journey in the business world was with BAE Systems, a large defense company, on their financial leadership program. So through that, we would spend a different year in a different business unit every year, um, like leading a new team, learning a new area of the finance function. So I spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia over those
Wow.
years. So to have that bit of Middle East background in me and then to apply it to Dubai, and you look at that region, they're the two kind of polar opposites of kind of conservatism and then going all the way on the tourist front and everything. So being able to take that corporate experience and the Middle East baseline experience I had, but then apply it to a more fast, dynamic environment, became really, really useful. And we're now currently
Wow.
plotting our launch at level into Saudi this year. So we've kind of gone full circle over the last 15 years now.
Yeah. So, as a COO and a co-founder, what are some of the key strategies that you've implemented there at Level Wellbeing to drive the organization's strategy and growth, especially in today's unpredictable market?
Yeah, so the core pillars, I guess, that I've looked after and built up have been the finance and the people functions. Um,
Mm,
my general experience from the outside world is people's view on finance is almost a hygiene factor, an admin box. But I've been taught in a certain way through BAE systems, through my SEMA qualifications, and through the companies I've set up in the past that finance isn't an admin function. Finance is there to like superpower your company if you know what to do with it. It really is. So taking what was a horrifically expensive, terrible spreadsheet of a business model and scrapping it, but going back to core principles of what does the business actually stand for, what's the vision, and what are the business assumptions that we need to build off of, and layering the numbers on top through that and building out the finances accordingly is a massive value add, specifically in the tech space, because so much of the journey is an investment journey through angel
hmm
seed funding, angel funding, pre-series A, series A, venture debt, and everything. Your financial modeling and being able to relate the numbers to the core business assumptions is a big thing. So that's been core to what I've done. But then also building a finance function that is scalable and flexible. So there's no overkill in there. We very much build it up on technology and systems. We outsource. I'm a finance professional, but we still outsource our core transactional accounting because it's not our core business, and building that up. So I really look to the finance function that we've built to be almost the area of the business that everyone looks to for inspiration and innovation and growth. Think, well, if we can do it and that can rub off on our product team, our technology team, our marketing team, our sales team, then we're in a good place. So that
hmm
was the core of where I started. And then over the years, the nature of being a COO is when you unearth a new area of growth or a new area of business, you're the one that gets it because there isn't a function that exists yet. So it's like, okay, we should have a full B2B sales function. Yeah, that's the COO's job. Work out what it is, what's the strategy, build it up, put some good processes in, and then find someone better than you to come in and take it to that next level. And that's what I've been doing over the last few years, whether it's been the sales team, the operations team, our content production team, our people function. It's been looking at what does the business need today, but what are we going to need over the next few years, and building that up. And I'm kind of blessed with a sound holistic business background experience, and you can see the full picture, which allows you to build up to a certain point, but then being able to then identify, okay, who is the right leader at the right level to bring in now to take what I've done and take that to the next level. And
hmm
that's been a really cool thing to do. And sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't worked. And then that's the nature of startup world and COO positions. When it doesn't work, it's back on you to figure it out and go again. So
hmm
it's very interesting, very challenging, but It's been good.
experimenting, but you're right from the standpoint of you have to have that right team in place that can take what you've done, model what you've done, and then put the right people in place to execute. But it's interesting what you said. You made a comment that took me back to my banking days. I spent 34 years. I don't know if I told you this, but
Yeah.
I spent 34 years in banking, and the COO was my boss. So here he was over operations, and I had the retail training side of the house, and he over operations managed me having retail and sales and training. And I worked very closely with the marketing team, but we were responsible for holding all of the sales team accountable. So you kind of look at that operation side and you're like, he's responsible for sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were.
Yeah.
We were. I managed 256 offices and their sales team, So, but yeah, but you're right in that when you hire somebody better than you, such the right attitude to have, because that was what I did when I built my teams, was looking for the people that were always better than me, and the people that did not have the same skill set that I had. I knew what I could do,
Yep.
but I needed people to surround me that could do what I couldn't do.
Yep.
And so when you build a team like that, you're so dynamic, so powerful
Definitely.
in that. So what are some of the challenges during your journey that you had to feel both as a co-founder and a
The
COO?
last 3 years, if I'm always conscious of how honest I can be on things like this. The last 3 years, honestly, if I look back, if you had played out like the various data points over the last 3 years, we shouldn't be here, right? Let's not beat around the bush. As a company, that we have defied all odds to be here. So when we went into 2020 in January, myself and my co-founder Gary, we went on a bit of a road show. So we did 2 weeks in Hong Kong to visit our team. So we had an office out in Hong Kong, a team out in Hong Kong, and then we did a week in Singapore to line up because we were ready to move to grow out that way. So we registered a company, we appointed directors, we had lined up commercial meetings and everything. And this was February 2020. And then, okay, so then we go back. We're in Dubai, early March 2020, and while we were in Hong Kong, we saw all the news around COVID and everything, being so close to China.
Started to say right before it hit.
Yeah, like this thing's actually happening. And in March 2020, we had just opened our investment round. So the way in the tech space works is you have a hypothesis, you have some things that you do great and some things that you're learning, you earn some, you raise some investment to prove it, to grow the business, grow the valuation, to raise again, do that until you hit profitability. Your cash reserves are never huge. You don't have the blessing of huge reserves. If you take on too much cash, you water down the equity too early. So we were at a point where our cash reserves were really low. Corona's hit. We have a team in Hong Kong, a team in Dubai, and our old app was built based on people going outside to do activities, health and fitness activities in gyms, studios, everything. So our app died overnight. There was nothing. There was no usage. There was no revenue. We had like close to 30 people scattered around the world, and like we were out of the game. That there was nowhere to go. It's hard enough to raise investment when things are going like pretty good.
Well,
try and raise investment when someone's looking at your business and the app is literally there's nothing going on and everything. So that was point one. And add in that second week of COVID, I had my first baby, and the whole things with babies and being in intensive care for a few weeks, and it was just a very, very surreal time. But we found a way through. The meetings we had in Singapore lined us up with some large companies that that wanted to fund our kind of rebuild to build something that was more relevant for the COVID times, and that became the new MVP of our new app, which was really
Wow.
really cool. So we found a way to hustle through building a new app out of our kitchens, filming content, selling, and everything. And it wasn't easy. Not everyone got to stay on the journey with us, and that's really really hard. But
Mhm.
ultimately, we have a responsibility to our shareholders and our clients and our customers. So we found a way to move on. So we worked through that, and we rode the storm, and we kept going. It wasn't smooth sailing, but we were getting there. And then part B to that was we then went to our next investment round, in what we thought was a pretty good place, and it was due to close, and we had a good cash buffer this time, but it was due to close, and then the Ukraine Russia conflict started, which spooked the tech markets. There was a particular shareholder on our cap table that it raised some eyebrows to, and we were back to not back to square one, but we were at another point where we had a very finite cash runway. We now had a bigger team and a bigger payroll, a bigger cash burn, and there was no end in sight to the investment journey. And it took us from that point another 14 months to completely close out that round, and to keep a company going, and not just going, but to keep them growing and keep morale high and everything else like that with that level of uncertainty. Again, I say we probably shouldn't have made it through, but we did. We closed a really good round. We brought in some really strong backing from the UAE, and we're now kind of going from strength to strength. But those 3 years were, yeah, I look back at them. I'm not sure how we did it, but we did, and I think whenever you go into the investment discussions, people always talk about they're investing in people more than the business, especially in the earlier rounds. And I think
Mhm.
that's where we shone through. Myself, the other co-founders, and the rest of the team just had a resilience to say, no, we believe in what we're doing, we believe in the end goal, and we will find a way to make this work. And we did. And we're now hoping the
I
next 2 years are a little bit easier.
I was just fixing to say I have some thoughts about how you guys made it when you said you probably shouldn't have. Was number one, you were looking at those challenges that you were being faced with as opportunities.
Yep.
You know, there's this looks like a humongous mountain that is about to cave in on us, but this is an opportunity that we have that we can prove that we're going to come through this. And then number two is, you do have a lot of people at stake, but like you said, you have to look at this as, while there's so many people invested and people that you care about, they know that you have to make some business decisions. The business has to go on.
Yep.
You can't have a second failure, if you will. They know that, they realize that.
Yep.
And then number three is the mindset. You all had to probably step back and say, okay, we have to, regardless of where our mind is right now, we all have to get together, and we have to have a positive mindset here, and we have to have a can do attitude. We have to make it through this. What are the resources we have? What are the tools that we have? What are the personalities that we all have together that we can pull and make this work? I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen where challenges happen. I know for me, I could have lost my business during COVID, and I made a decision to keep my people, and it hurt. I'm telling you, it hurt.
Yeah.
And it, I would have, if we were faced with that decision again, and heaven help us, I hope we don't ever have to do that again. I don't know that I can make that same decision, because I still have some consequences to that decision today, but my people are very thankful that I made that decision. But you have some mindset that that you have to go through to get to that end goal that you got to, all of you
Yeah,
as leaders in that company, to get through to the end that
yeah,
you got to.
definitely. It goes back to what you were saying earlier when we were talking about hiring new people and looking for people that are at a different level, but also those skill gaps to create that really
Mm-hmm.
diverse team. I think
Mm-hmm.
back to those days, and there were some days that I was on it, and maybe the other co-founders weren't, but there are other days where I wasn't there
Yes.
but they were, whether that was technically,
Yes.
emotionally. I think it's crucial to have that team dynamic work for you,
Mm-hmm.
because it could very quickly work against you, and it
Absolutely, it
wasn't all
can.
smooth sailing, but that diversity and that team dynamic to be able to pick each other up and drive forward is crucial.
Yeah. Because if all of you had said, "Oh my goodness, this is the second time," and you gave up, the whole business would have failed again. I
Yeah,
mean, so it you all had to put your skin back in the game and work hard and make it happen, because if you weren't all willing to fight for it, it wouldn't have come through.
definitely.
So that is an amazing story.
Yeah,
So what about your book? The book about money. What an awesome and compelling title.
yeah.
Um, Tell us about that.
So my journey throughout life and business has been always one of ruling out things I don't like doing. It seems to be the pattern.
Mm.
So at school, I hated writing, couldn't stand writing, but I love numbers. So focused on maths. Then I thought, right, if you don't like maths, do mechanical engineering at university. Started that, realized very quickly I did not like mechanical engineering, but I'm quite stubborn. I'll see it through. Okay, what do I want to do next? I don't really know what I
Mhm.
want to do, but I should join the business world, and I like numbers. Let's join corporate finance. Like that's where the money is. At least if while I figure it out, I'll earn some cash, and join the finance leadership program at BAE, and very quickly learned the corporate world wasn't for me. I was good in there, I was effective, but it wasn't where my passion was. I just thought, right, well, I'll go to kind of grassroots entrepreneurialism and start up my own football company in the UK. Did that and then moved on to level, and all the way through, I've kind of ruled out those things that I don't like doing to find what I do like. And the one thing that they all had in common was the financial side. Like there was always numbers and finances. Yet
Mhm.
when we were in COVID, it all seems to go back to COVID.
It all
We're,
goes back there.
we're sitting there in COVID and looking at it and saying, right, well, I've got, I don't know, 15, 17 years of very strong financial experience, education, pretty well paid jobs. And we're 2 months into COVID and we've run out of cash personally. We have no investments, we have no pension, we've got a bit of debt mounted up on credit cards. How is this possible? And if it's possible for me, someone with the financial education, with the financial experience, how is everyone else surviving and doing it? So I really started to dig deep and look internally and research and read books. And there's so much great stuff out there. And then I looked at it and thought, there's a story here that needs to be told. So it started off as more, I need to write this for myself. And in doing so, there'll be some value for other people. So I
Wow.
went to work on it and kind of, I wrote the book as I was building out the journey for myself. So the book itself, the book about money, is 10 steps that you can take, anyone can take to build an affluent future, but really digging deep into the mindset around creating and holding on to wealth, looking at wealth and money not as something on your bank balance, but a way to impact the world. Looking at your lifestyle and simplification and making it real to everyone and anyone that wants to go on that journey. So it became my passion project. I would get up an hour before my firstborn would get up in the morning. I'd go to work, and over the space of 9 months, I put it together and thought, yeah, this is actually good. Reached out to a friend who's an editor, and he helped me out and did some work on it. And going through that whole experience was a tough one because I'm quite impatient. I like things so quickly, and that's not how the editing experience goes. But we got to a point like, hey, yeah, this is good. This has actually got some value, and we did some test reading, and the people that did the test reading went out and they really loved it. So I thought, right, let's put it out there. We put it out. It's almost 2 years ago now, and we just did self publishing on Amazon, and it went really well back in Dubai. Like we were one of the top sellers for a little bit, and we got quite a few readers in the States and in the UK, and yeah, it's been really cool. The best thing has been when I get the messages on LinkedIn or Instagram saying, "Hey, I've just set up my Boom account, or I've just set up my Rocket account. I've done this," and I'm seeing the results of things actually happening, and people actually using it. So that's where we're at. And then back in December, just this year, thought, right, the audiobook needs to happen. I've been putting it off for a long time. Right, all right, I'll do
Mm-hmm.
the audiobook, but before I do the audiobook, I better read it again just to double check it's still relevant. So I was reading it in November, and as I was going through, I was like, "Oh wow, yeah, I wrote that whole section for me, not for the audience." It was really interesting. It was quite a cathartic experience. So I thought, right, before I do the audiobook, let's give it a full, not rewrite, but a bit of an edit and check. So that went really well. And the cool thing is, throughout the book, there's exercises you can do. You don't need a spreadsheet, you don't need a calculator, you just need a napkin and a piece of paper. And there are lots of
Wow.
exercises that you can use as a sounding board just to show your progress, to give you a starting point, show how you're going. And as I was doing them, I had my notes from back when I did it 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, this actually really works. Look how good we're doing now compared with where we were 2 years ago, and look at the pathway we're on. So it kind of gave me a bit of a renewed confidence that it works and it can impact people. So I finished doing the sound listening of the audio book yesterday. That's all done. There's a new cover that got signed off yesterday, and now just probably going to spend the next couple of weeks getting a couple of print test copies and really giving it a push in March this year. But yeah, really excited for it. It was
Wow.
definitely a passion project, something for me, but it's now turned into something that is actually impacting other people, which is incredible.
I love that so much. So when I was in school, I hated to read. So there's a couple of nuggets here. You talking about, I hate math and loving numbers. Um, but I hated to read. I hated reading class. I hated English class, but I love to read today. And I even love more than reading. I love audiobooks. So you will have to let me know when this is out on Audible, or I'll be watching
Oh
for
well.
it for sure. So a question for you. Would it be a good book to use in a book club?
Oh, definitely. So that's the way that I've designed it. That
Really?
this is something. Maybe read for the first time on your own if you want, but reading it together is where the power is. And
Okay.
the main reason for it is that when it comes to money and finance, it's not a solo journey. It If you've got a partner, it's a joint journey. If you've got a family, it's a joint journey. If you're part of a community, it's something that impacts everyone. It's not just you in isolation. So having a sounding board to talk through topics it makes it all work. And also the topic of money can be a taboo subject for a lot of people in different cultures and everything. I'm more than happy to talk about it. Like I would share my screen now and open up my bank account. It's completely fine. But I know from experience that I'm the anomaly here, and most people don't. And being able to provide that safe space and that common language for people to come together and to be able to discuss something that they're probably too afraid of or not quite sure where to start is really useful. So yeah, definitely a good one for a book club.
Well, you have gotten me excited because I've wanted to do book clubs inside my community. I'm growing a community now. I just started it around Thanksgiving, but I want to bring in experts to talk to the community. So I've written this down. I
Yeah.
do, like you say, I want to listen to it first myself because I love going through them.
Yeah.
I think I want to bring you in. This is another topic for another time, but I'm going
Sounds
to
good.
get this on the air.
Yeah.
But I want to bring you in because I have some people I know in the community that I think could really benefit from this.
Cool.
And I've wanted to do, like I say, a book club as a part of the community. And so it would be great if we did that book club and then you came in and spoke before to launch it. Oh, that
Yeah.
would be so
Yeah, I'd
phenomenal.
love that. That'd be cool.
Okay.
That'd be good fun.
Okay. Well, I've written that down. So
Okay.
we will reconnect on that little mini project. That would be
Sounds
so
good.
great.
Sounds
I,
good.
I love going through books like that, especially books that, I mean, I'm all about helping my people. As you heard, I want them to get visibility. I want them to grow their influence and their connections and their income for sure,
Yeah.
because that's why they're doing their business. And so anything that we can do to help them grow, whether, they're growing from low numbers to 5 digits to 6 digits, those that are 6 digits to 7 digits, any way that we can help them grow, I
Yeah.
want them to grow. So this is
Mhm.
exciting for me.
Cool.
Is there any particular crucial step that stands out in the book? I started to say that you would want to speak about, but I almost want that to be a secret.
Yeah. I
I don't
was
want to
having
spoil it. I don't want
yeah,
to spoil it.
I was having a think about that last night as I was going through some of the chapters. I thought, oh no, this is the main one. If everyone just reads this one, then the others are, and there's, oh no,
Yeah.
but then you need to do that one. And I think that that's actually the main part of the message is that your money and your affluence or your wealth, or it's not just about the one thing. There's so much more to
Yeah.
it. And I think that's why I found myself in the situation that I was in. I was an
Mm-hmm.
expert at keeping a spreadsheet. I was really good at
Yeah.
making money, but there were a few missing bits. It was actually the easier bits that I was missing that completely destroyed
Yeah.
my entire wealth journey.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really that holistic approach, but
Mm-hmm.
also the simplifying it. It's not as complicated as it needs to be. You don't need to
Yeah.
be an expert on budgeting or an expert on wealth management or financial planning. If you can just understand a few key concepts and
Yeah.
talk about them with your partner and start injecting them into your life and form some good habits, it's not actually as hard as what it feels like
Mm-hmm.
it should be.
And Orrin, would you agree that it could be even concepts or habits or beliefs that we already have that we share with other people? We're just not good at doing them ourselves. And I'll
Yeah.
and I'll give you an example. I heard this, so I went to Podfest a couple weeks back, and I heard a speaker say this, and I thought, wow, that statement is so profound. And it really made me start thinking about the things that we say and how powerful our words are. But this was the statement this speaker said, and I won't call him out because I really don't have permission to. It's his story. But the speaker said that more than once they had been homeless. And if I remember correctly, they were on their third time of losing their business. And the wife was extremely stressed over the business going down. It was making some money, but the business was going down. But he was helping other people make 6 and 7 figures. Now, and you're thinking, and I'm sitting there thinking, that doesn't make sense. He's helping people make 6 and 7 figures, but his income is going down. There's something wrong here. And his wife said something very profound, I thought. And that was when they were talking, honey, why don't you put into practice what you're telling your people to do?
Yep.
Wow. So he knows what he's supposed to do. He's teaching his people to do it, but he's not doing it on a day-to-day practice. He's
Yep.
not living the habits that he's teaching his people. And he stepped back for a minute and he was like, I have gotten out of the routine of doing what I teach. And so when he put back into practice what he taught, his income started going back up,
Yeah.
and he came out of the hole. There's a lot to be said for that.
Definitely. We actually cover that quite a bit in the book as well, and I talk about past businesses. I think the key wording that you used right at the end there was he stepped back. And that's
He
the
stepped
difficult
back.
thing. When you're in the thick of it, whether it's your personal finances or your business, you are in the thick of it. You have blind spots, and you don't even know that they're blind spots. You don't even know they're your blind spots. And if it was
Mm-hmm.
someone else have given you their financial statements or their business model, you'd be able to sit there independently and give them incredible advice. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're in the thick of it day to day and emotions are running and tensions are high, it's very difficult to do. And I'm always a big advocate for, and where we're at now, non-exec directors, but back in my other days of smaller businesses, just an independent sounding board, someone that's not in the thick of it day to day, or a supportive partner that's prepared to kind of be truthful with you. And actually you've already got the answers, or whether it's an executive coach or something, you've got the answers in you, but every now and again you need someone to pull you back out, tell you to take a few deep breaths and take a step back and look at it afresh. Because yeah, you can get so in the thick of things that even the advice that you would give yourself just doesn't come through. So I
Mm-hmm.
completely hear that story.
Yeah. Would you agree? Being in the high powered role that you're in and have been in for quite some time, trying to run businesses and take care of, being a dad, 3 kids, you get into this hustle and bustle. And, there's so many demands upon you as an individual, so many demands upon you from your teams, all the various departments, managing the company as a whole. If we're not careful, I know this is true for me, and I've just recently have said this year I'm staying focused. I'm going to have tunnel vision because, I think sometimes we find ourselves, I'm speaking to me, I'm preaching to myself, is I find so many distractions that I'm doing multiple things and my focus is off the main thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why am I not accomplishing the main thing? And using the word step back again, I have to get to the place when I'm like, why am I not accomplishing set goal, whatever that goal is, whether it's financial or a project or whatever? It's because I've let myself get involved in this thing or that thing or this thing with, whereas thinking back to when I was in corporate and in your situation, having, teams or whatever, various departments, it's easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
But you have to stay, whether it's that financial goal or whatever it is, you've got to know the numbers. You got to stay focused on the numbers, and you've got to study that stuff and be on it
Yeah.
and be omnipresent to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think back, one of my early mentors, this probably wasn't his saying, but he always used to say to me, Orrin, you got to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. And there are, I get the feeling from as you talk, the time, the audience that you have and the type of people that are listening are probably kind of go-getters, people that are out there. And right now in the world, especially, there is so much opportunity, whether it's in podcasting, in crypto, in AI, in your actual work, in affiliate marketing, and in everything. And that opportunity, those shiny objects, are so easy to steer you off. Sometimes in a positive way, and that's like with intention, but sometimes it's not through intention. It's just naturally you just get diverted, and all of a sudden you find yourself with three, four, five things on the go, and not nailing that one core thing that you should be. So yeah, it's very hard, and it's strange because it happens most to the people that you create so many opportunities, and that's the thing that can sometimes stop you from excelling so much because you keep creating opportunities and being diverted. um, the way that I try to deal with it, and I'm not successfully throughout the years. Like I've had years where I'm all over the shop. I think the last 2 years where I've got really, really good is um, understanding what the main thing is, but making sure throughout that part, whatever the main thing is, the focus on my own personal development and my own well-being is what will ground me. And if I get those habits right, I stay focused on the main thing. When I start to let my personal well-being or my personal development plateau, that's when chaos ensues and you go off in all sorts of areas. So
Mhm.
whether that's on the personal development side, making sure I'm keeping my ears open for great audio books or podcasts or reading or working with a coach or going to an event or doing that thing. It's crazy is if you keep checking in, if you keep treating your personal development like you would treat the gym if you were into fitness, then
Mhm.
that's the thing that keeps you that's the thing that keeps you there. And I've done a few things recently, a weekend course here and an audio book there, and you take little bits of gold here and there, but they keep you aligned, they keep you focused. And the same with your well-being as well. And even the same with having kids, it's very easy to get lost in that in that side of things. And I think being a bit selfish and making sure you create time for your well-being and your personal development is what helps you become a good parent as well. And when you're with them, you're focused and you're present with them. And when you're not with them, you're focused and you're present with whatever it is that you're firing on, rather than trying to split your attention and not succeeding in any area.
Mhm. Yeah, I can imagine having 3 kids under the age of 2 takes quite a bit of time. Um,
Yeah.
and, you know, you do have to balance that. I love that you say that your go-to is those audiobooks, personal development, your well-being, because that's oftentimes when people say, Tonya, you need to spend time with yourself. And I love spending time with myself. But when I am spending time with myself, I love to just lay on the couch with my AirPods in, and it's listening to personal development. That's what I love to do. It's feeding myself. Some people say that's not resting, but
Mm.
to me it feels like it is. I'm
Yeah.
just relaxing, just listen. I may fall off to sleep,
Yeah.
but I'd love that constant motivation
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
seems to feed me.
Yeah, it's made a massive difference to me. It's I have one gripe that real world finance isn't taught in school. Like, you shouldn't have to read my book. This is something quite important you should be taught in school. And the other one is personal development. I do hear now that schools are starting to pick it up, but it shouldn't be an optional thing that you may or may not tune into in your late 20s, early 30s. It's so crucial. And when I
Mhm.
looked at my professional career and everything, like it's gone in a strong direction off the back of when my personal development work
Mhm.
has kind of shot off. And I do look at other people in my organization, other organizations, and you just think, I do know what you need. Like, this is the missing piece, but you don't know what you don't know. Like, unless someone's gonna make a stand for you
Mhm.
and bring you in something or to share from like a really strong place of integrity, then you won't know. So yeah, that personal development is so key, and just keeping it there on the regular, and as much face to face as you can get as well. I do sometimes miss the face to face events and the energy and being around like minded people. That adrenaline rush is incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So what about a story, and you may have already shared one, and if so, um that's okay. There may be another one tucked behind there. But what about a story from your journey that's rarely told but has been a critical lesson for you?
A critical lesson. Probably my actually the last two businesses. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is when you set up a business, sometimes you can self fund, sometimes you're bootstrapped, sometimes like
That's
if
good.
it's like an intellectual business, like there is no startup capital or anything needed. But for a lot of businesses, you do need startup capital, and then for other businesses, you need to then continue to raise throughout. And what I've learned very much over the last two businesses is that not all capital is equal. The dollars that hit your bank account are not all the same, and they have lots of impacts. And this is where you need that independent sounding board to help you make the right decisions, and also to ensure you have the leverage to be able to say no to certain capital. Because when you're in the thick of it, when you've got that business idea and you're firing in a particular direction and you just want to go, and someone's willing to put dollars down on the table, it's very hard to say no to, but sometimes that's what you need to do. I've learned very much over the last two businesses that there are certain areas of capital that you need to understand what it comes with. So I think back to my first company that I started up. The first thing I did is I went to my friends and family. Like, started out this business. I need some cash. Here's my slide deck. Here's my idea. I'm full of energy, enthusiasm. You know who I am. Like, you trust me, you do it. And they said yes. And they opened up their wallets, and we agreed that this was an investment. And whilst they knew it was an investment, whilst they did it
That's
from the
amazing.
absolute best place, that investment came with an emotional toll. It came with
Yeah.
a it came with something additional, almost a level of guilt in there that, okay, I'm building this business, but remember that dad gave you, or I'm building this. Oh, you remember what your brother gave? Oh no, my brother's just had a kid. He could probably use that money back. And it's like, I've taken on this investment. I took it on for the right reasons. So I wanted to build a business. They gave it for the most noble reasons. One, because they believe in me. Two, they believe in the business. And three, they're just nice people. However, it's created a capital structure on obligation, and that's not what you need when you're building a business. When you're building a business, you need to know your investors have paid in and their investment is at risk. That investing in a startup company is a risky game, and that you need to have agreed outcomes, agree exit strategies like growth pathways and everything. And that needs to be an explicit conversation. It can't be something that, oh no, I think we're all on the same page here. Know that you're all on the same page. And
Yeah.
that's like at grassroots level. And then you get to where we're at the moment with Level in the most recent rounds is there's a massive difference between taking cash from an angel fund versus a VC versus private equity versus sovereign wealth. They all have things that are great about them. They all have things that aren't great about them. And you need to make sure that there's a mentality and a value alignment there, because all of a sudden, when there isn't and things don't quite go to plan, that's when it shows up and you feel the pain for it. So anyone out there that's thinking about starting a company or in the early stages or about to raise money or going through a second or third fundraising round, it's just that check in with yourself. Not all capital is equal. And what independent sounding board can I get just to talk me through the thought process of, if I take cash from this area, what are the consequences other than just the cash? Because not everyone's the same. And I do a bit of angel investing myself, mainly in fintech companies. And I try to look at myself as the dream investor, because I've been on the other side of it. I'm like, here's my money. I believe in you. I believe in what you're trying to do. If you need or want me, I'm here. If you want to never hear from me again, never hear from me again. I agree
Hmm.
with the exit strategy. Keep me up to date, and that's it. but that's not what 99% of investors are like. And you need to understand that before you take the cash. After you take the cash,
Mm-hmm.
it's far too late. So yeah, we've learned that one the hard way a few times in a few different ways. So looking forward to the next opportunity to be able to put those lessons into practice.
Yeah, it's definitely, I remember when we invested in our first one, it was just like every little bit I would ask my husband, have you heard anything about that company? Are they growing? Are they, it is scary at first.
Yeah,
And now it's just like, I don't even think about it. It's almost like it's a stock transaction
yeah,
now.
yeah,
It's the money's there and it's there,
yeah,
you don't look back.
yeah,
But yeah, at first it was a little bit scary,
yeah.
but
I bet. And at the end of the day,
yeah,
everyone's human, right? And everyone has emotion and everything. But being
yeah,
just being conscious of it and being explicit can set you up so you don't have to go through the tough conversations down the line.
yeah. I can only imagine for you what the very first time you did that, going to your dad, going to your brother. I mean, for your first time not having done that, and going to the people that you knew you, liked you, and trusted you, but you had an emotional bond with them too. That had to have been hard. That had to have been a hard ask, even though you knew you believed in yourself.
Yeah.
To ask them to do that too had to be somewhat challenging for you.
Definitely. Yeah, it was. And chuck in the fact that they all thought I was crazy
Yeah.
because I was walking away from a very good job. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how most people in the world are brought up. Like, if you have a very good job,
Mm-hmm.
why would you leave that? Like, let's don't worry about this other business. What do you do? Why are you leaving that thing? So yeah, trying to
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation as to why I'm leaving, also why this is great and why I'm a great investment was difficult. And I honestly can't remember how the conversations went. I just remember so much excitement and
Yeah.
passion. I was I think I believed in it so much
Right.
that just saw me through those
Yeah. That gave you the
um,
drive. Mm-hmm.
conversations. But it's weird
Yeah.
now because how maybe 9, 10 years further on the line, now I'd find that same conversation really hard, which is crazy because now they've got even more evidence and more trust and more excitement to know that it would be a good thing. But now it feels like the conversation would be harder. So it's very, yeah, it's a very strange one. But we needed it at the time, and again, it was all part of the journey. Like if I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
have done that, I wouldn't have gone through those learnings. So I know it was a core part of the journey, and I want to say a massive thank you for all those people that believed in me back then, because you probably didn't have to. Like, so I really appreciate that. It's made a massive difference.
Yeah. And so, as we start wrapping up the show today, that makes me think about, while that may have given you some angst at first, you had to have had such a positive mindset, even in that situation, because you believed so in yourself, you believed so in the company. And so we've talked a little bit about mindset throughout this whole show today. Can you talk about, as we're ending, because this is one of the things that I talk to my audience about a lot. And sometimes, Orrin, I think my audience thinks I'm crazy because I have such a positive mindset. And I talk about how having a vision to see themselves at their end goal, seeing themselves um, at the end of that money goal, having achieved those things that they want, or being that COO, or seeing themselves raising the capital that they want. All of those things, um, mindset is such a positive mindset is such a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. And for some, it's hard to go through that shift. But I would love to talk about how the mindset shifts that you've had to go through was so pivotal for your successes, especially during all of those challenging times. Can you emphasize for me the importance of mindset?
Yeah, for sure. It's the ingredient that sets people apart. Having that unshakable belief in who you are and what you stand for and where you're going is the difference. And I look back to all of the investment conversations and the due diligence processes and like being run over hot coals on various things. And my technical finance experience is good, but it's not exceptional. Like we joke with our accounting team, like, yeah, I'm a qualified accountant, but I haven't done a journal in 15 years. Like,
Yeah.
however, I can take that foundational
Mm-hmm.
finance background with a foundational business background with my application and mindset on top is the bit that kind of supercharges it for my journey and for the company that I'm part of now. So it's so crucial, and I try and look back to like really early on as to when it might have kicked in. And I think back when I was probably at university is where I really found myself. I knew exactly who I was. I think that was step one, being really cool with who I was and happy and proud, and just saying, right now, I'm going for it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm not quite sure the direction that it's going to take me in, but I know what life looks like on the other end. And I know how the journey is going to feel to get there. And if you have that unwavering belief on the end goal and what it's going to be like to get there, you find a way. You find a positive way, and it's just naturally how it comes. Whether you're using affirmations, whether you use vision boards
Mm-hmm.
or anything, I have my thing that's been working best for me recently. I say recently because it changes over time, but the last few years, I have my perfect day. That's what I use, and I have it pictured in my head, and I can walk you through it minute by minute. That perfect day. It used to take me, oh, I need to go for a walk for an hour to go through this perfect day. Now, give me 10 seconds, I can fast track that perfect day. And
Mm.
having that as part of my subconscious, that shows up in how I show up every day, what
Powerful.
my behaviors, which lead to your actions, which lead to results that just reinforce it end to end. And I'm getting really excited because my perfect day is um, it's about how I wake up in the day, how I feel, and what I'm going to do first thing, and then my kids come in and where we are and everything. And the house I envisioned our perfect day
Mm.
in, we're moving into in 2 months' time. 200 meters from the beach, the balcony where you can see the sea,
Oh,
the roof terrace and everything. Like 2 years ago, there was nothing that I didn't pull that from a brochure. I don't know where that came from, but I knew that was my perfect day with my kids, with my family, working on the projects that excite me and light me up, and just having that at the back of my mind. That's what shows up when I open my emails in an hour and things have happened and I need to do
yes.
something, or I jump on
Yes.
calls, or that
Oh my
that's the thing
goodness.
that makes me get up early and get the kids ready so I can jump on a podcast when really that extra half an hour in bed this morning would have been great. Um,
Yes.
that, yeah,
Yes.
that belief is what will set you apart.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That has got me excited. I love that. I love that because that is exactly the type of stuff that I love to talk about. And that very thing that you just described is what has gotten me the success that I had in my journey with my corporate role, and has gotten me the success journey that I lead today. And so I love that. And I know it's the same process that's going to lead me to the success, in the years moving forward. So I know I said before we end, I wanted you to talk about that,
Yeah.
but I don't want to leave without giving you the opportunity to talk about orange soccer.
Yeah, so Orange Soccer is the football company that I mentioned at the beginning. That was my first journey into the entrepreneurial world. We built up an online and offline retail football setup. We had academies and scholars program. We did incredible things. Um, what happened with the business is we we missed the industry had a really good period of kind of super profits, and we missed that by a few years. So all of a sudden, the growth company that I thought I was creating turned into a lifestyle company. Nothing wrong with
Okay.
it, but two
Right.
different things. So
Right.
we ended up
Okay.
franchising it out and everything. And the academies still go on today. So
Oh,
I
good.
love seeing the social media. I'm still in regular contact with them, and seeing how they're all going is awesome. And it's something there's something inside me that says, right, when the timing's right, that's an area I do want to revisit. I feel like there's some business there still to be done. So I'm excited to go
Awesome.
back at some point.
So what is the next goal for Orrin?
Um, levels, we've got a very important year at level launching into Saudi. We see ourselves as the regional market leader now, which is great. We've got some work to do on the product to launch into Saudi. A full Arabic version of an app is something
Oh, wow.
exciting, but there's a lot going on there, and that will lead to our next big investment round. So that's on that side. Launching the book, and then I've got a spreadsheet with about 100 different ideas on it. Going back to what you were saying earlier around focus. So just
Mm-hmm.
keep checking in with myself, making sure my focus is
Yes.
in one place. I think
Yeah.
I've just got the kids now to a point where I feel like I have the energy outside of level and being a dad
Mm-hmm.
to start the next thing, whatever that is. So I'm excited to
I
keep
love it.
unpicking that, and I think I just need a week away without
Mm-hmm.
kids, without work, without emails, and I think I'm going to figure that out. So I've got a week
Mm-hmm.
planned at the end of February. So let's see what that brings.
Perfect. Well, that's when all of the right energy will come and will flow, and you will get all of your thoughts together, and then you'll know you'll have that direction to take the next steps and move forward. Well, I'm so thrilled that you were with me here today. I love hearing what you have going on, and it's been a pleasure for me to meet you and get to know you on this level. I think that we're going to have some fun going through your book. When that audible version comes out, or even some people may choose the book version, and that's
Yeah,
fine, but I definitely want to explore that with you in the coming months. So I appreciate you
amazing.
so much being on today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. And before we say goodbye, please let the audience know the best locations. We will put them in the show notes, but what is the best place to locate you? Is it website, LinkedIn?
Sure. Okay.
I'll let you share that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me and inviting me on. I've really enjoyed it and look forward to hopefully doing it again soon. If
Yes.
people want to reach out, um, LinkedIn, if you want the LinkedIn version of me, Instagram, if you want the whole version of me. So I'm very transparent. If you want to see what goes on 24/7, my Instagram story is a place to go. But yeah, Instagram and LinkedIn are the two places.
Perfect. Well, I just shut my Instagram down this weekend because, as I said, I've got to stay
Focus.
focused. My coach said, "You're too many places." And I said, "Okay, what do I shut down?" Well, where do you want to be? So I made a decision to shut down Twitter and I shut down Instagram.
Right.
So those are two locations I no longer am. But I will be turning Instagram back on, hopefully a few months down the road. But
Thank you.
Orrin, thank you. You stay on with me just for a minute. But for those of you in the audience, leave your comments for your best taken nuggets. We would love to hear from you, and we will respond to those nuggets, whether it's on your best audio version of the podcast or YouTube. And if you've not hit the subscribe button, please do that before you disconnect. Thank you for listening and or watching, and we will connect with you again next week. Thank you.